All right, so this is a video of all the Hot Toys I got in the calendar year of 2023. And I'm going to do a review from my least favorite to my favorite in order. So not really a top 10, but just kind of like all the ones I got this year. Getting them all out here, they barely fit in this table. I ended up getting more Hot Toys than I remembered this year. Some of these didn't actually release this year, but I got them in this calendar year. So I'm going to include them because they're new for me. So you see a list here, I kind of see a picture here of all these characters I have. Most of them are Star Wars. But then I have some Marvel stuff here over here towards the end of the year I got. So we'll go through least favorite to favorite. It's going to be tough. With Hot Toys, the quality is so high on most of these figures. It's hard to find any negatives or say this is my least favorite character. I love all these. So a lot of this might come down to nostalgia factor for me. Being a kid growing up with all this stuff, playing with, toys when I was a kid, Star Wars toys, Marvel toys. That lends a lot to me for what I like in a figure. So I'm going to do my best to go from least to favorite. It's going to be so hard, but here we go. Okay, so here is, I guess, technically my least favorite figure I got this year. To make a point here, though, Boba, I got Boba last year on the throne, which is an amazing set. Really great set. I think Sideshow has it on sale right now, too. But I got Fennec Shand this year. She showed up. And I hate to say she's my least favorite because her head sculpt may be one of the best head sculpts Hot Toys has done in a long time. The actress that plays her, I forget her name now, but they did a great job with her likeness. I got the set here with her sitting on the throne, drinking that drink, that blue drink. Even got some of these, credits on the ground there. It's a really cool display together in the DTOF. They just fit together in DTOF, just barely up in there. But again, she's a great figure. It's just probably my least favorite character out of all the figures I've gotten. She's a good character. I have no problem with her in the show. I love the actress. I loved her in Agents of Shield. I love her in Star Wars too. She's really good. But again, this is tough, man. I say my least favorite because I mean this is an awesome figure. Look at the detail there. It's just Hot Toys is a step above usually with their artistry and their figure making. Even this Boba, it's a separate figure, but you kind of got to have them together, I think. And having these two together really is nice. Again, this is tough, least to favorite, but as of right now, I think Fennec is my least favorite that I got this year for Hot Toys. So let's see who's next. Okay, next up is Miles Morales from the video game Miles Morales. This is the Bodega set. If you've played the game, at the end, if you complete some missions, you get this suit that comes with Spider-Man, the little cat that was at one of the bodegas that the guy owned. And there's two versions of the cat. One goes in the backpack like this, and then there's one down here, which is pretty neat, pretty cool. He has a little Spider-Man mask on. But this is an awesome suit. There's soft goods. This sweatshirt that Miles has on, I've got him holding a coffee, jumping with a backpack, a little bit of his Venom effect going. And then the material of the suit is really nice. The only problem with this is in the game, he has Adidas, and they're really cool shoes. It stinks that Hot Toys couldn't get that license. I thought about, somehow making them myself or seeing if a third party sells Adidas shoes. They might be on eBay somewhere. But that's the biggest letdown for me of this figure is, man, I wish he had those Adidas shoes because those shoes are awesome. It's a super cool figure. Again, this came out, I think, a couple years ago, but I just finally pulled the trigger this year and got him. I had to have a Miles. I had tons of Spider-Man. I'm a huge gamer. I love the Spider-Man games. So I had to find it with myself to get this figure. Great figure, really posable, even though the suit is that some kind of pleather in some instances. It poses really well. He looks great on the shelf next to Spidey, the PS4 game Spidey I have. But, great figure. I would say if you liked Miles, if you liked the Into the Spider-Verse, or you played the game, this is a great figure to get. All right, next up is Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin in the last Spider-Man movie, No Way Home. As a Spidey fan, I love that movie. I love they brought back and they did the mashup of you know, the old Spider-Man movies, and combined them with the villains. And Defoe is great as Green Goblin, as Norman Osborn. That head sculpt, again, might be one of the best Hot Toys has done. His eyes move. You can move his eyes around to give him some crazy looks. But just look at that head sculpt. Amazing. Um, I think why this figure is a little bit lower on my list is because it was never one of my favorite characters in the Spider-Man movies. The suit, you know, it feels kind of Power Rangers still, which I never got into Power Rangers. I was kind of older for that. So if you like Power Rangers, I apologize. But the mobility in this suit, the articulation's tough. Again, the chest doesn't move too much. He does come with the pumpkin bombs, with a hand that holds them. And he does have his, you know, his mask, which turned out really good. That mask is really awesome. So as a Spidey fan, I'm glad I have this. I'm kicking myself I didn't do the Doc Ock. I wasn't crazy about the Alfred Molina head sculpt, where they kind of de-aged him. I don't think Hot Toys head sculpt turned out that good. I may eventually get that figure, but again, it comes down to a lack of space I have in my room. I've got 6 Detolfs and that's it. I'm looking to maybe get a couple more things similar to a Detolf for another side of my wall, but until I do that, my space is limited. So again, you know, great figure. The head sculpt is amazing. That's probably the best thing about this figure is his head sculpt. I can't not display him without having this Willem Dafoe head sculpt. So there's Green Goblin from No Way Home. Okay, next up is Quill riding his blurrg from Mandalorian. And as a huge Star Wars fan, someone I grew up with Star Wars as an 80s kid, I thought Mandalorian was a return to form for Star Wars. And this figure here, this character, Quill, was one that I was clamoring for from Hot Toys from the very first, episode or 2 he showed up in, Nick Nolte voicing him. And I could not wait to get a Quill figure. And then with the blurrg, I've never gotten something this big. I can't underestimate or overstate how big this thing is. I haven't measured it, but it doesn't fit into a Detolf, I don't think, because the tail is so long. So it's got to be displayed somewhere else. And I've just had it on a table sitting there. I don't like leaving my Hot Toys out collecting dust. It really hasn't done too bad. But I need to find a display thing for this guy because he's so massive. And in retrospect, I probably would have just gotten the figure and not the blurrg. But I jumped in the bandwagon when the show came out. I was so, addicted to it and hooked. I loved everything about it, and I still do. But again, in retrospect, considering how much space I have, or limited space I have, I would have just gone with Quill himself, which is a great figure, by the way. The head sculpt's amazing. He comes with a lot of stuff. He has a backpack, the goggles. He's got his little cannon rifle, whatever that thing is, like a Jawa weapon. Really great figure. It's hard to put him lower on this, considering what I have left, but I have a lot of cool things left, so that's why he comes in where he's at. But overall, a great release by Hot Toys. All right, next up is Cad Bane. This one just released this year from the Book of Boba Fett. Of course, if you're into Star Wars and you've watched the Clone Wars, this is where that character originated from, I believe, was the Clone Wars. And he was kind of like made up, I think, to be kind of like, oh boy, what's his name? Plays Dirty Harry. That actor, kind of like when he played in the Western movies. Can't remember his name now on camera, of course, but it's a great look. I love the design of this. He comes with different face plates, interchangeable face plates. He has this this hat, this fedora, which is kind of felt. I've got him kind of drawing his weapon here, kind of holding his hat, and then his little droid, Toto 360, I think is his name. This is the deluxe edition, came with this droid and came with the booster rockets for his ankles, if you want to display him like he's flying. But I just love the gunslinger look of this character, and the look of him, the gauntlets. Book of Boba Fett, say what you want. I thought it was a fun series. It's not the direction I would have taken Boba, But I get why they did it, and it was, you know, for what it was cool. I thought Cad Bane's appearance was excellent, although maybe a little abrupt, but he was just as cool as he should have been. This guy oozes coolness, and great figure from Hot Toys. Next up is Ahsoka Tano and Grogu. Again, a Clone Wars cartoon figure, and I always liked Ahsoka. She was written really well. She was written excellently in the Clone Wars. Her story arc is great. And so when we found out when she arrived in Mandalorian, I think season 2, I don't think we were expecting it. I think it was hidden well, if I remember correctly. It just kind of came out of the blue, and that blew me away. That episode was amazing. And then that's when we found out that the child's name is Grogu, because she could talk to him. She understood him through the Force. So that's when we stopped calling him the child, and now or Baby Yoda, and now he's Grogu, right? But, you know, a great release. I waited a long time. I think we all waited a long time for this figure to come out. It took a while. But you can take this poncho off. Clint Eastwood. I remembered his name now. Kind of like a Clint Eastwood style with his poncho. And, you know, I don't have her displayed with her sabers in hand, but there's one of the sabers right there. Slightly bent to it, you know, a little radius to the sabers. They're not completely straight, which is really cool. One shorter than the other. Almost like having a, what do they call that? A tanto, I think, the shorter blade. I don't believe her eyes move, though. I think they're in place. I might be wrong on that, but I don't think they move, if I remember correctly. But man, Rosario Dawson, I think, did a great job playing an older Ahsoka. I think the series Ahsoka, as much, I'm a huge Grand Admiral Thrawn fan. That series wasn't really my favorite. I thought it was okay. I thought Ahsoka was just a little too, maybe dry is the wrong word. But anyway, regardless, this figure is really good. The lamp doesn't light up, which would have been a cool feature to have. And the display base, this little like wooded display base she comes with is definitely cooler than your typical Hot Toys, you know, black display base. Looks like a black stop sign. So actually getting some type of display base is really nice with this. So there's Ahsoka, really great release from Hot Toys. Okay, next up is Spider-Man, the integrated suit from No Way Home. And I got the deluxe version of that. A deluxe version includes this head sculpt that I've got on of Tom Holland. It's of note that the Spidey mask is not fabric, that's actually sculpted. And it looks really good. It looks really good. The other part that makes this a deluxe is this amazing display base that he comes with. So you have like the Doc Ock arms on both sides. One of those is integrated with the nanites from Iron Man. So you have that red. And then you got a couple pumpkin bombs. And you got some sand to show Sandman's been around as well. All three of those villains made an appearance in No Way Home. But overall, this was one of the first times I went all in on a deluxe item from Hot Toys that includes like a cool base. And those Doc Ock arms are posable. They're wired, so you can bend them, and they bend really good. So I've got this displayed in Detolf by itself. I think I can probably get another figure in there, but it's going to be tight. But, you know, ones like this with this display base almost need their own space in a Detolf. But yeah, I haven't changed the pose since I've got them. I didn't go too crazy with the pose. I don't want to have any cracking happening with the suit. I've yet to have anything bad happen to any figures I've owned since like 2018 going to today. Mezco, Hot Toys alike, I haven't had any problem with degradation of like pleather breaking on me or anything like that. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, we're good. So this is a really cool set. It wasn't cheap. Again, the deluxe version. And it's getting kind of tough now to go through what my favorite figures are, because this one's up there. I love that movie. I love all the Tom Holland movies, especially the second one with Mysterio. Probably my favorite MCU movie, because I love Mysterio so much, and they did a great job with him. But this is a Spider-Man integrated suit from No Way Home. All right, next up is Luke Skywalker for Empire Strikes Back. This is his Bespin look, and partially Dagobah as well. It's getting really tough because for me, growing up in the 80s, Empire was one of the first movies I saw as a little kid. I don't really remember anything because I was so little. I think I was like 2 or 3. But Empire, like many people, is my favorite Star Wars movie. I think it's Star Wars at its peak, the best it could be. And so anything from Empire, I'm very nostalgic for because I played with all those as a kid growing up with those figures. So I couldn't pass up this suit and this release. And so this is, Mark Hamill. The likeness to Hamill is really good. I know they've had trouble with his likeness in the past, but for a young Mark Hamill, and the eyes do move on this deluxe set. They do have rolling eyeballs independently. So I just kind of have him looking off to the side right now. I forget if the saber lights up in this figure. I can't remember. And then of course they have the pleather belt, which, we'll see how the pleather holds up. And then a pistol here. Another cool piece this comes with is the scene in Dagobah when he confronts the Vader vision on Dagobah in the cave. And he chops off his head and ends up being himself, right? This piece turned out really good. It's really awesome. And this display base has 3 different plates you can use. I think it was 3 different plates. I'm sorry, it's this plate, or it comes with the carbon chamber base, which lights up, which I haven't used the carbon chamber just because I love this head sculpt so much of Luke in the Vader helmet. But it comes with a carbon chamber base that lights up, and you can have him in that scene when he confronts Vader as well. But I just love how they've done these bases. This is all plastic here, but then it connects to your normal, stop sign style, base. It's got Dagobah stuff on the ground, but I don't like how they did his boots. The Hoth one's done much better. These are kind of straight up pleather, which I've heard people say that this is going to probably deteriorate. Whereas the ones from Hoth are done a little different, and I like them better the way they look. But regardless, maybe the only thing for this suit is it could have been weathered more. This is kind of, to me, before he fights Vader, because by the time he fights Vader, he is all beat up. This suit is tore up. But like I said, I kind of want to have this figure higher, but I have other Lukes here waiting and a couple other figures waiting that I just like a little bit more than this one. But regardless of that, this is getting really tough to decide my favorite. And having this one as low as I have him kind of shocks me, but it is what it is, right? So if you don't have this figure and you like Luke, you like Empire, if you can still get it, I would say go for it. I think it might be on sale. That or the Hoth Speeder one is on sale, I think, at Sideshow. So awesome release by Hot Toys. All right, things are starting to get really difficult because I had this figure higher than I did, and I've spent a couple minutes contemplating how I feel about a lot of this stuff. And most of this, as I mentioned before, is based on nostalgia for me. My childhood, playing with these figures that look like these ones here as a kid. And this Iron Man I initially had higher, but then I realized there's a couple things I have to think about when it comes to Star Wars. Anyway, so this was just released by Hot Toys. I actually have a video review of this guy. And for me, I grew up as a kid, like I said, in the 80s. And I still remember going to Kmart one day with my mom, little kid, and the Secret Wars figures had come out. And I remember, for whatever reason, I picked Iron Man. I guess he looked the coolest to me as a kid. And my mom said I could get it. And I still remember in line, bringing it up and getting the figure in my hands. I have that memory. And I was probably 6 or 7. I full on remember that. And that's how that Iron Man looked. It's the classic look. Apart from what Hot Toys did with the black lines around the mouth, which I don't care for. I wish they would have just done the black mouth, but that's okay. That's a minor gripe. This figure, when I think of Iron Man, this is what I think of, because I grew up in the 80s with this look. I don't think of the more modern organic Iron Man armor. I think of this stuff right here. And this is just a phenomenal release. It is die cast. There's a lot of plastic, yes. But I've heard people say this is like a high-end Marvel Legends, and that's not true at all. This is well beyond a Marvel Legends type figure. It does light up. The chest lights up. The arc reactor lights up. The hands light up if you have, the Force Blast hands, and the head lights up. The problem with the head is they didn't paint the back of the mask, so that light bleeds through the yellow, which is unfortunate. But it's cool they did the light up feature. And then he comes with a pretty cool base. I wish the Iron Man was red and yellow instead of blue and white. But It's a decision they made, and this base is really big. I can fit 2 figures in a Detolf. I have Dr. Doom next to him, a third party. But yeah, boy, I really love this figure a lot. I gushed over it on my review. I played with it for a long time. It comes with a cartoonish Tony Stark head sculpt as well, which is neat. And it comes with the Golden Age, the pointed mask, the yellow mask with the points on top. But this is the look I like from being a kid. So I had this guy higher, but last minute I lowered him, and you'll see why with a couple figures I have remaining. All right, next up is Luke Skywalker from Mandalorian, the end of season 2. And if you're in the same boat as me, if you're a kid from the 80s and you love Star Wars growing up as a kid and you played with the action figures, and then you saw the Disney movies, the sequels, you know, you can like what you like. I'm not going to think differently of you, but I personally didn't care for the sequels. I thought The Last Jedi, they just did Luke wrong. Did him wrong. That wasn't the character he should be. And a lot of people agree with that. I think even Mark Hamill agrees. So with that said, when this episode happened, I've seen a lot of YouTube reactions of people crying. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I got a little teary. I got goosebumps when I realized that it was Luke. And they had done Luke justice. That scene is one of my favorite Star Wars scenes of all time. And I'm an original trilogy guy. That scene was epic. So when they said there, obviously when that scene came out, the first thing I thought was, when Hot Toys makes this figure, I'm getting them. And sure enough, I think like many people, right? We got this one. And just, man, that Luke head sculpt is so good. And, you know, like it's like the same Jedi robes he wore in Return of the Jedi, pretty much. It's only like, what, 5 years later. So there's a little Grogu right there. And then he comes with this, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the droid now. Death Trooper, right? I think it's Death Trooper. Well, I can't remember what they're called. But they, you know, we saw Mando fight one and barely escape with his life, right? And Luke just goes through them like a boss, right? He just, I mean, OG Luke tears these things up. He even uses a Force crush on one of them, kind of dabbling on dark side powers. But anyway, this Dark Trooper, he lights up. You can actually, another function, he will kind of flash, like slowly flash those lights. But, you know, what a cool companion piece. I think this is the deluxe version as well. But, and I think Luke's blade lights up. I have the other blade in, like the one he's like swinging it, kind of that effect piece. But the blade does light up with the hand, the arm, which I don't have. I don't do that, but it's an option. And of course the pleather boots, which we'll see how they hold up. They're really soft. We'll see. But man, what an awesome release. You know, any other given year, this would be my top release. But I have 2 other figures I got this year that do trump this. So let's go ahead and see what those 2 are. Okay, second to last is Scout Trooper from Return of the Jedi with the speeder bike. This was going to be my number 1. I battled the last 4 figures. I battled as to which was my favorite, and I could have an argument for each one, honestly. But again, this is a piece I never thought I would own due to the size and cost. But I pulled the trigger earlier this year. I think this released a long time ago. This might be version 2.0, and honestly, I can't remember. But I pulled the trigger, and I'm so glad I did. I do have just a normal Scout Trooper by himself. So now I have 2 Scout Troopers. This one's got a little dust on him. I haven't had him in a Detolf or in a glass case, so he's getting kind of dusty. But yeah, like I said, I'm an 80s kid. Return of the Jedi was the first Star Wars movie I remember seeing in a theater. Again, I was little. I was like, what, 6 or 7 maybe? I can't remember. I was little, maybe 5. But I vaguely remember seeing it twice. I mean, distinctly remember. I remember closing my eyes when Vader took his helmet off. You know, I was so scared. But anyway, the Scout Trooper has always been my favorite troop type in the Empire. When they released in Return of the Jedi, and they had these speeder bikes going through the forest at 200 miles an hour, whatever it was, and just the look of the Scout Trooper, I've always been in love with this figure, this look. And so that's one of the reasons why I needed to have them. So I have a whole diorama scene I kind of want to make when I get a bigger cabinet that has both Scout Troopers, and I also have the Sideshow Luke, and I've got him in the Endor get up right now. So I have an idea for a diorama I'm going to do for a display for this guy. I just haven't got around to it. There's so much going on. But yeah, this is my number 2 favorite figure this year from Hot Toys. Again, could have very easily been number 1. But I'll show you what number 1 is now. So we've come to it, the very end. My favorite Hot Toys release that I received this year, and it is Luke Skywalker Snow Speeder Pilot from Empire Strikes Back. I ordered this thing late last year in December. I ordered this, and I also ordered the Lando and the Han and Carbonite. I got deals during December last year on all these pieces. So they all came at the same time for the most part. So I think this Luke is technically a release from last year, but I got them early this year. But again, going back to Empire being my favorite Star Wars movie, Hoth, the location, is my favorite planet. I've always loved snow and the cold. I'm crazy like that. So I've always been in love with Hoth. Tauntauns, Wampas, the snow speeders, the ground battle with the AT-ATs, or AT-ATs as I call them, being a kid of the 80s. And so to get a Luke from that planet is just awesome. And I got him looking up like he's looking up at an AT-AT. He's got one of the grenades in his hand that he uses when he busts the bottom of the AT-AT open and throws a grenade in there. And here's his grapple gun he uses to ascend the bottom of the AT-AT. And then I think this also has a light up saber effect too. And he has his pistol. But the work they did on the coat, the flight suit, and the pants are amazing. The dirtiness they got, the griminess, and I never realized, but these oranges are different colors. The flight suit is a lighter orange than the bottom, and I never really noticed that in Empire, but it must be accurate. And this feeling of this jacket, it feels like a puffy winter jacket. They did an amazing job on the details of this flight suit. And the helmet wasn't easy to get on. If you do get this figure, you gotta be really careful that you don't scratch the sculpt, the head sculpt with his little radio, his little voice thing here that he talks with. That can scratch the figure very easily. And so can the chin strap. The chin strap goes in separately, and those ends of the chin strap, the black sides, can scratch that face. So you gotta be really careful putting this thing together. The helmet actually comes apart to go on and then collapse over the head. So kind of a different way of doing things, but it works out. You just gotta go slow and be careful with it. And then the base, this one here has this snow effect piece like the Dagobah one does, plastic, but it's cool. It's not just a flat, I say stop sign base that Hot Toys has. It has some dimension to it. And then you can see the difference here in his boots. I guess there is some pleather down here, but up here, this is more like a felt material. That's not going to degrade, unlike the one here. That's all pleather on the Dagobah one, the Bespin Luke. Whereas this is fabric. I'm having a hard time focusing here. There we go. Yeah, fabric. Anyway, this is my top Hot Toys figure of the year. I didn't think it would be. I thought maybe the Mando Luke might be. I thought maybe the speeder bike might be, the Biker Scout, and even the Iron Man, the classic Iron Man. So yeah, there's all my figures I've gotten this year from Hot Toys. Let me know your guys' thoughts. What do you think of these figures? Do you have these figures? Do you agree with my order? Do you think I put a figure too low in order? Or do I have a figure too high? Again, a lot of this is based off nostalgia, and also how the figure turned out. So again, I love every one of these. I wouldn't get rid of any of them. I'm not going to sell any of these ones I showed you this year. I love them all, but I got to put an order somehow. And this was tough. This was tough to do. So let me know your guys' thoughts. Again, if you like the content, I'm trying to grow the channel. So feel free to like, comment. I love interaction, talking to people about this kind of stuff. So, shoot me a comment. I'll reply. And if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe. Alrighty. Well, thank you for watching.